And welcome to a new episode of Friends with Boundary. My name is Chris Chung, licensed marriage and family therapist. And today I have a special guest to continue the conversation we had last time in a podcast, just thinking about, the upcoming time of the year. If you're listening to this podcast right now, we are headed into November, December, where the US celebrates a lot of holidays. And we always have these, fun but I sometimes call battlegrounds of boundaries and emotional boundary setting. With me is my guest, my friend, who will hear for the first time and definitely won't be the last time, Mario De Armas. How are you doing, Mario?
I'm good, Chris. It's great to be here.
Yes. Thank you for jumping in. I know that, I was thinking about this topic and, just understanding the chaos. I know I've been through a lot, but I really welcome your voice when talking about, just family and the fun things that we go through. And I'm not saying that with sarcasm. Family is can be fun, at least in my situation, right? But it does come with a lot of expectations, a lot of conversations that sometimes you may not enjoy, but you still, like the person. And so holidays is around the corner. Before we kind of jump in, audience, I kind of had gently remind you that this is not to replace any therapy or any mental health kind of services. If you do need to seek that, please go seek that help. This is merely a conversation between two therapists who've seen things, who've heard the challenges that maybe our clients have gone through. But certainly, we are just offering a conversation and things for us to think about. And so, this does not replace therapy for sure. But we will definitely have a lot of elements that are going in there. So, with that said, Mario, why don't you take a quick moment, introduce yourself to our audience?
Yes, thank you. My name is Mario De Armas. I'm a licensed mental health counselor. I've been seeing clients for 5 years and come from a big family. Uh, that was a great experience. Speaking of just stories to be told, there's so many joyful stories. And in the midst of that, a lot of boundaries implemented, but all within that fabric of love and dealing with strong personalities, but very loving personalities who love fiercely. But navigating through that has been quite a journey. And as I studied mental health, I learned so much about enmeshment and so much about family roles and so much about differentiation. So Bowen was very timely in my understanding of my family, but also my appreciation of my family. So I have a private practice now and get to hear the other side as well. And I feel so privileged to do it.
It's so awesome to hear that. Bowen was also part of my training in the realm of family too, and you're beginning to see how these elements play out as you get more and more into the theories, but maybe just life in general.
Yeah.
Um, well, with family comes a lot of personalities, like you mentioned, and a lot of different things that you sort of may not understand. We'll go all the way back. Like growing up, I remember gatherings being a time that's meant for families to come together. There's celebration, and certainly food and presents appear out of nowhere. I was a kid, wasn't thinking too much about how these things come about, and so that has been sort of what informed me what these gatherings supposed to look like. But as I grew older, I'm beginning to see that different people, different families have different dynamics. Um, Before I jump in even into the adulthood level, how about you? What was the gatherings like, uh birthdays or holidays
Yeah.
like for you?
The one that stands out the most is Christmas because we had a lot of rituals, both religious and just household rituals that encompass Christmas. So we always went to church at the same time. We always ate the same meal. And my dad would have us basically prepare for Santa's arrival. So we got grass for the reindeer. And Santa didn't drink milk, Santa drank wine. So we would pour wine for Santa and would place our shoes where the presents would go. About, I would say, the range of 40 to 50 people would come to our house. So that's where I remember a conversation where you tried to get a word in edgewise and you just couldn't. You tried to say something and you would get cut off. So the first boundary that I learned was being able to tell people, "Hey, can I finish?" But imagine, again, passionate people, various topics, uh, personalities where you would get the question, "Why do you think like that?" or "Why would you have that opinion?" So while you're having a good time and you're celebrating something so significant, you're you're trying to negotiate all these personalities, and it was very interesting. So the first boundary was most certainly the interruptions, and get how do you have your voice heard in
Hmm.
that process?
Wow, that's amazing to kind of already jog in my memory. I have a different experience because it was so clear what's considered adult conversation, what's considered children, right? So there was a huge distinction. We weren't even allowed to chime in any of the adult conversation where we're, asked to keep to ourselves mainly. And when there's gatherings like that, clearly adult table, children table, and then um, they would not even allow us to be in those adult table conversation. Uh,
Right.
so physically, we were not allowed to be there.
Yeah.
So yeah, our voice just were taught like, okay, you guys don't have any say in this or need to know anything being talked about.
It's so interesting. The whole idea of people never saw their parents argue or their siblings argue in public, everything happened behind closed door. There was no subtlety in my house. And in the same fashion that you would say, "I love you so much," you would also see siblings argue. My
Mm,
parents would argue in front of us, but not necessarily in family parties. And then the next day they'd be holding hands. But we didn't have that behind closed doors, avoid arguing in front of the kids.
mhm,
The thing that struck me as a kid was seeing my older sisters who adored each other just get into this massive argument. And in my mind, I thought this went from 0 to 60. Where did it accelerate? So it was a shock even then, like, wow, is this supposed to happen? And then as I got used to it, because you get accustomed to that homeostasis, right? Then you get exposed to a new homeostasis where people look clearly upset and
uh-huh.
they're probably going to have some words when I walk out the door, but
Mm,
not necessarily at that moment. And I thought, oh, not everything goes down in the same way. Very
wow.
striking.
Wow. So you kind of maybe feel that tension, something's going on, but they kept it really waiting for the eyes to be out of the room and just, work it out between them. Wow. Just hearing that though makes me think about I never had that because it seems like there's a clear understanding that during the holidays, all the serious conversation, if you will, everything is kept out of it, and Uh, so that strikes me as interesting because I'm a child of immigrant. I mean, and coming to the United States, my first exposure, listening to peers, even into the work that I do as a counseling, holidays does not always and gatherings does not always have this positive tone. Does not always have this like family or cohesion, harmony. There's actual anxieties, and when I listen to their stories, that's the first time I'm beginning to see that people don't always see holidays and gatherings as a good thing. More so done out of obligation, maybe, or done, uh, there's something else that went on in their history. So I became to be more curious about that. I don't know if how you if when you first noticed that your own celebration and gatherings differ from other people.
I think I started noticing it in my late teens, approaching 20, where some people would get together but there was a lack of festivity. It felt obligatory, and it was very unassuming.
Mm,
Oh, yeah, we got together for Christmas and then we went home. We anticipated our dinner. We anticipated the lechon, arroz, frijoles negro, yuca. That was the same meal, and it was as if we were eating it for the first time. It it impacted me to think that other dynamics existed, and I know my family was far from perfect. Uh, they were just very upfront about their imperfection. It was very transparent, and I could appreciate that part. But there was definitely an intentionality behind the holidays, especially Christmas, Thanksgiving as well. But the countdown was really towards Christmas.
yeah.
So even little things like we had a baby Jesus that we would pass around in honor of the nativity, just random things. But then talk about anxiety, two family members that have not been getting along for a couple of weeks. That whole anxiety surrounded in, is he mad at me? Is she mad at me? And then you can feel the tension in a palpable way. And oftentimes that led to reactive behavior. So the celebratory coincided with friction too. Not every year, but there were some memorable parties. But overall, it wasn't the norm per se. But I witnessed some of that.
Yes. As you're as partly our growing up, it became less innocent, right? And sometimes the adult world now comes about, and for me, I didn't feel prepared entering that for sure, because it still have this mindset like we come together, we work together to celebrate, but I started learning things like who's supposed to be in the kitchen, who
Right.
is in charge of food, or maybe the speech, or how
Yeah.
that is done. And when there's a disruption, when a member is missing, you kind of feel
Yes.
something is off.
Yes. Yes. Well, the family roles was also very prominent, but then people started getting tired of their family role. My
Yes.
mom started to say, "This is the last year I'm going to cook." My sister started to say, "I can't host anymore. It's too much work." And the innocence was not altogether lost, but it was mingled with adult responsibility. So you would see people coming tired. My nephew's a firefighter. Uh, the demands of life, the domestic, the responsibilities of an employee, all that would spill over where there was a relief to have a respite
Mhm.
through the dinner, but then a lot of people, you could tell that they were carrying certain burdens that come with adult life, coupled with the roles, and oftentimes people wanting to shy away from that role, right? So we were very staunch about keeping traditions, but over time, there was a shift where my mom did release responsibility, and my sister did say, "Hey, why don't we alternate every other year?" But fortunately, we retained the essence of it. But in life, you do have to adapt and be able to somehow modify certain things. I just thank God for a family that was able to dialogue.
Mhm.
They were able to have those hard conversations. Resentments never became so overbearing because eventually people would sit down and actually air out their grievances, right?
Right.
So, but
This
in
is
your
Yeah, go ahead.
case too, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, and this might be a good talking point to sit back and kind of put our clinical hat on. Maybe it seems to that these conversations, the roles that wants to be changed, it's a shifting boundaries, and boundaries are not meant to be static, or these are our expectation and roles, and we stick to it. But there's also a negotiation to keep the family harmony. And perhaps for many, in my I guess even in my experience working as a clinician, I hear that it's handling that kind of stormy phase of like, I don't want to do this anymore. I would like it. It feels so abrupt, and I wonder if there if it needs to happen that way. It needs to happen have where someone needs to air out like how they want to do this, but they don't want to do it every single time, right? Is
Yes.
there yeah, is there a way, is this part of that natural shifting of the boundary, or can we prepare our, people around us to be like, hey, let's headway and be more aware that this can happen and that we can go through this
100%.
phase in a
I think
more, yeah, go ahead.
the word that comes to mind is delay. I think we
Mm,
delay important conversations, which causes a spike in resentment, right?
yes.
The cortisol levels come up, the stress hormones increase because we're already starting to entertain this, but we're not addressing it directly. And then we ruminate, and eventually we create a story in our head, or we build a resentment towards somebody. And that's usually an indication where a conversation needs to be had. And oftentimes we delay that. And as that happens, more starts to accumulate.
Mhm.
It's actually quite liberating to sit down and have that talk. I statements are golden. Listen, I feel this way, as opposed to you continue to thrust this on me, right?
Mhm.
No, I feel this way. It would be a relief for me to know that I have support here. I would really like some assistance here. It it can really save you so much heartache, right?
Yeah.
But oftentimes we shy away from the uncomfortable conversation, whether it's hosting or whether it's a particular family member that keeps on hitting that trigger, and we swallow, we swallow, we
Mhm.
swallow, and the tipping point is usually provoked by a smaller infraction because we've
Yep.
we've held in for so long that the tiniest of matters can cause it to spill over.
Yeah.
So, never to delay the conversation, to be able to have that one on one, using I statements, speaking from your experience, and having a compromise, right? Where it's not just solely what you want, but there's a give and take.
As you're talking, right, that whole image in the English metaphor of the straw that both broke the camel's back. That straw
Yeah.
may be in and of itself very light, insignificant, but you did not. Everything was piled on already, and that little thing just breaks it. And that it's so good to understand, from what I'm hearing, understand our limits, to have that sit down and start letting, because people, these are loved ones, and we're talking more in the realm of supportive family, the ones that want to take care of one another, that they will hear you, they will want to hear how much effort it goes into these things. And and if you can offer that as, I'm getting you weary, I would like help, coming from those I
Right.
statements, super helpful.
Right. That's something that I've been able to learn. And yes, Anna always makes the bread pudding, and Maria always makes the corn souffle, and Roger always makes the turkey, right? But maybe one day Maria's fed up with making corn souffle and
Yep.
wants to defer to somebody else. It sounds like something so minor, but you just never know where people are at. And people can't fall under the deception of assuming that other people should know. They should know that I've done this 5 years ago or 5 years in a row. They should know that I would be tired. No, no one's really going to know until you sit down and articulate that. Because resentments also arise out of, don't they understand how hard I work? I mean, people should read the room and be
Mhm.
attentive, but most of the time they don't come to that realization until we actually voice it.
Absolutely.
And I've seen so many instances of anger just bursting just for that
Bubble.
very reason.
Yes. Sometimes, a family member may be tired of the turkey. They want to do sides instead, and that's okay. They just want to shift, and just someone else, as long as someone else take up that role to, come in and help. On the other side, I think now I can be a bit more self-disclosure, kind of talking about for the people who really benefited from these holidays, not doing a lot of work. Maybe I offered, labor, setting up chairs, tables, right? But overall, it seems for me for the longest time that I had an easy job just to be there and enjoy and not recognize how much work mom or grandma or, you know, a spouse was doing in the kitchen. I need to be able to develop an awareness of maybe not at that day, but afterwards, kind of check in. How are you doing? Do we want to do something different? Do you want more of my help here? So
Yeah,
that, we offer ourselves before they even get to their boiling point or become their tired points. Let's try something different next year if that's helpful. Just having a time to debrief, a space to debrief, because
yeah,
what tends to happen is boom, 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 holiday come. We enjoyed it. We're all tired. We expected, we're gonna recover and not think about it,
yeah.
how much it went on. Everyone seems happy. Oh, I will do this again, no matter how tired I feel. But then that resentment might check in on.
That's so thoughtful. And people generally appreciate when asked, "Hey, listen, were you comfortable? Is there something we could do different?" That oftentimes opens the door for them to say, "Hey, we can adjust here," or next year, why don't we include XYZ? People from their end, if they're bothered, and again, easier said than done because confrontation can be difficult. Unpleasant conversations are oftentimes something we avoid, right? I know I've been there, but even being able to say, "Hey, this bothered me. This bothered me for this reason." Again, just a transparent way of addressing the very matter. As I think about this too, this is the ground for many controversial topics where
Mhm.
politics come up and
Yes.
other areas come up and a variety of opinions exist. How do you navigate through that? And I've learned by watching my family that it's important to voice your preference. So in my family, we don't get into politics because there's a variety of opinions and there is a lot of respect there. And I really appreciate it. But they painstakingly went through that to be able to say, "Hey, this is not fruitful at all, and can oftentimes cause resentment because having respect for someone else's point of view and understanding that, number one, it's not our place to impose unless invited, and then it's a dialogue. And number
Right.
two, we wouldn't want someone to do the same. It's that golden rule principle. We want people to respect our point of view, but we have to extend that same grace. The other part that we've learned because our family is so vocal is that whenever we cover something important, right, substantial, we get in a circle and we pass a teddy bear around. So the speaker holds the teddy bear. I know it sounds so random, but it gets so intense at times that we give someone the floor, and while they hold the teddy bear, they get to say everything. Because lo and behold, someone wants to chime in, and we have to remind that person they have the bear because
Here,
it's too
listen.
quick on the draw at times.
Yes. Wow. That's such a cool way of, hey, this is the space for us, and this is a space to be heard. Um, and things may not be pleasant all the time that we hear, but it's necessary to be heard, necessary to
Yeah.
listen. It's great practice, and that helps. For my family, I think we definitely place as at the core of it, our family is greater than politics. Our family is greater than differences of opinions and perspective. And we may not come to an agreement all the time, but that will not break the bond for us as family.
Yes. Yes.
Definitely has, a place, an understanding, because this is not explicit, but it is a boundary that we don't let things like this break our family. Now, I'm not saying that every family needs to do this or that this is the thing to do. I certainly understand there are some experiences that I have not experienced that's very painful, and we may feel rejected or completely abandoned by family. But I will say that uh, we in our family we have it in our core to work things out. those who have
Yeah.
that sharp disagreements. We'll make it
And
happen.
our family has it too because there's a desire to work it out. It's in our like you said so nicely, in our core, in the fabric. And when that disposition is there and the intent is prominent, then things do get resolved. Oftentimes we can get derailed by topics with a controversial twist. But in essence, if the desire is to keep unity, keep peace, reach common ground together, then we're always going to gravitate towards that area. But it has to be part of the foundation. And our family really established that early on. Faith was at the center, and the idea of we can disagree with each other, but we always have to come back home. And amidst any discussion, there will be a follow up discussion to make sure that we're okay. Even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's tumultuous, we find our way back to each other. The other principle is bring everything out into the light. Isolation, secrecy, that oftentimes festers and the pain is prolonged.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. Absolutely.
so grateful for what you're saying because at the end of the day, if anything of that nature divides us, for what? For what? And our desire to be right all the time and to prove people wrong, again, is that really affecting change? Yeah, it's just creating more dissension, I think, at the end of the day. If people want to listen, great. And if we want to have a good discussion, great. But yeah, those are and again, very opinionated people. 7 kids, 17 nieces and nephews. There's a lot going on there.
Yes. Oh my gosh. You have it's always loud, right? In the family. Or everyone has it becomes a very big family as time goes by.
Yeah.
That's wonderfully put. I think that's the avenue, right? We built enough of a trust throughout the years to show that, yay, we have good times and we have these bad times, quote unquote bad times, but we are there for one another. And so I guess throughout all that experience, it taught me there's no true abandonment, fear of abandonment in my family when even if we disagree on topics or beliefs even. So uh, I'll probably think about a special episode for absolutely for those who may not have that same family dynamic that they grew up with. Right? The safety of being able to be
Yeah.
authentic, is the safety of being able to express ourselves in the way that your family did it, and perhaps my family. In this next part, as we segue in, family becomes as we grow older becomes even more uh, intertwined and complex when we bring in other family members. When our siblings get married, when our other aunts and uncles, and when we ourselves are now in a um, matrimony. That brings with of itself a renegotiation, a revisiting of many boundaries that I never knew that were there before. I'm
Yes.
curious to hear what were some of your early experiences of just seeing that shift. It's no longer this nuclear family that we grew up with, but now we're bringing other elements.
Fantastic question. For me, it was negotiating between two homes.
Hmm.
My in laws are excellent, but they have their own traditions. So oftentimes I would start Christmas Eve with my family and then head over to their family, which that's my family too, but juggling homes. And then where our sweet spot resided was we determined that it was better to just spend Christmas Eve with my in laws. And then Christmas Day, my sister has this delicious brunch. I could see the croissants and the corn souffle and quiche. And she went all out. And we would spend 4 or 5 hours that morning because it was hard to be split
Yeah,
in multiple sections.
sections
And
and
the truth
different.
is, I really couldn't be present. So the happy medium was my wife and I would open gifts together in the morning, and we would head to my sister's, knowing the night before we were at my in-laws, and had a great time, and I could be available to both without that urgency to head over to the next place. Some people do that without a problem, and whatever works for you works for you. I get really agitated just
Yeah.
thinking I just settled down. I'm having a
Yes.
great conversation, and now in 20 minutes I have to leave.
Gotta
That
leave.
that was hard.
Oh man, it's very similar. In the beginning, you're trying to keep this everything the same, but really trying to make both families like happy that you were able to be present there. And for us, it's traveling down from Miami to Broward and back, and that really took a toll on how much energy and effort it takes, right? And learning to kind of sit down and figure out for next year, what do we need to do better, can we do that doesn't cost us ourselves, and it's not even fun for the family to see us tired and drained, or be on a time schedule needing to be somewhere else soon if things don't start on time, right? Dinner doesn't start on time, or brunch doesn't happen. And thankfully a very supportive and understanding spouse who's willing to say, hey, this year we're doing this, and this year we are hosting, but we have to give up some of the events, because my family, if they have like a gathering, it's like days. It's like Monday we have this, Tuesday we have this. It's like these are work days too, so it's very tiring for us. And it feels bad a lot of times to say no, we can't make it, or over time there's a better understanding. That's only through a supportive family, right? But certainly from time to time they'll still drop that. Oh, you should move up here, or you should have, just
Yeah.
chosen us. We had a great time. It's like, well,
Yeah. No, it really is a negotiating game, and then our own guilt. Oh, am I spending too much time or not enough
not
time?
enough time, right?
That creeps in too, because when you have boundaries, and I don't say boundaries in a limiting way, I say
Mhm.
boundaries in a liberating way,
Yeah.
where one knows that they stand here, that frees you up. Because I know that this is my key boundary. I'm coming here the 24th. Oh, but you should also come. You should also come the 25th, because you always come the 24th, but you never come the 25th. Where do you at that point dig in your heels and say, okay, but I'm coming the 24th. I love you so very much. I appreciate you. I'll see you the 24th. I can't make it the 25th. And notice what kind of discomfort you feel within yourself at the prospect of saying no to somebody,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But at the end, the one that pays is you, because then you're trying to be everywhere and nowhere. And like you're a
S-
Horcrux from Harry Potter, you're split in seven.
Split. Yeah.
And the truth is, I hope someone appreciates the Harry Potter reference. But it's like that family member that every time you need to go, they're upset that you're leaving. I have one family member that I adore. It could be 12 o'clock at night. You're leaving? It's already set. And he has this distraught look on his face. I used to feel guilty about that. Now I look at him and say, yep, love you. Guilt is oftentimes a component that impedes our ability to be decisive and to stay true to what we need to do, because we can't control other people and how they react and what they think. We need to be at peace with the things we do for the sake of ourselves, our families, and devoting the right amount of time, because we all have to live out our schedule.
Yes. Yes, we are the ones that have to like deal with the consequences of
Yeah.
stretching ourselves too thin, and but also we have our responsibility to ourselves to be the best version of ourselves wherever we may find ourselves to be, choosing where to celebrate and when to celebrate. I mean, what helps in calm situations is I love all of my family equally, and I will find time to spend with them. It's not me saying
Yes.
I'm cutting you off. This is not worth my time to come. I really want to, but at the same time, I don't want to do that at the expense of making my spouse unhappy, myself unhappy, or someone being unhappy. We will have a gathering. If not today, there is some other time and keep that in discussion. But you're absolutely right.
Yes, yes. There will come another time because then we try to do so many things and to at the expense of what? Right? We jeopardize maybe time with our spouse. Maybe we've been working 12-hour days and there's a family get together, but I haven't spent time with my spouse. So we're making micro decisions, macro decisions. It's endless.
Mhm.
Organizing ourselves so that we can keep in mind, oh, my brother that's been calling me for a while, or my my cousin that misses me. We learn to negotiate,
Mhm.
but realistically, we can only do what we can, right? And when time is limiting, then whether it's putting it in the agenda or
Mhm.
just writing a little note, hey, I'll call this person tomorrow and connect with them. Like it's little things that we can do so that we don't feel obliged to take on the full brunt of responsibility.
Yes, absolutely. There's
Everything
a
is so stress driven now. Everything is so, I got to
yes,
do it now.
it is. Wonder how when that changed. 'Cause I feel it. I feel it a lot. The
Yeah.
other component we didn't get a chance, but maybe we can dive a little bit. We can understand all of this, and that yet culture kind of comes into play when we feel that obligation, the guilt, the responsibility piece, how we spend our time with one another, right? So yeah, even after having this, I know in the future there will be times where I feel I let someone down or I
Yes.
was not you know present enough for family in this situation. So this is not going away, but at the end of the day, I do have the staying true to myself. So what needs to happen and how I can make up for it if I did, do something that I don't feel like was me, was what I wanted to connect.
Yeah. Yeah. I I think we're in that mode of makeup. Scarcity is a big thing, and making it up. We're always behind. We're always behind,
Always
and
though.
we're very guilt driven. The guilt driven is posture is not even productive because there's seldomly do you have a solution. It's just more guilt, and
Yes.
it brings more guilt and a multitude of different ways, and then the emotion, and we're stuck there. Maybe that mobilizes some people. It doesn't mobilize me. I think I have to take a deep breath and just say, what can I do today? Okay, I could do
Yeah.
this, this, and this. And then I could say, is there something I need to own up to? Did I say I was going to call somebody and didn't? Did I say I was going to show up to an event and I didn't show up when they were counting on me? Okay, those are tangible things.
Yes.
Now, did I overextend myself and say yes when it should have been a no? And hence I didn't show up because I took on too much and unrealistically said yes. And then you wind up disappointing people
Putting
too.
others.
So oftentimes that initial no saves a lot of heartache, and at least they know where you stand as opposed to saying yes and subsequently not being able to show. So a big boundary is no.
Mhm. And as I even started when we started this podcast, I almost reframed the boundary to being taking one yes at a time. I don't have to say yes all the time, forever. I may say yes to it this time, and I'm allowed to say no next time. So that's really key to being protecting of our resources, protecting of our health and effort, but also being responsible to others. Not responsible for others, but responsible to others.
Yeah, yeah.
This
And
this conversation, yeah, go ahead.
what do I prioritize? That's very good.
Exactly. So this conversation really brought up a lot, Mario. Really, thank you so much for jumping in. Are there anything in your mind as we talked? Anything that came up for you that can just tie all of this what we talked about together?
I think going back to being intentional about the people around you, savoring every second we could spend, and using our time in service of that. Knowing when it comes to family, there are imperfections, and you love them because you see imperfections within yourself. At the end of the day, boundaries allow us to be guided and to be more oriented towards what matters, towards the core things, the valuable things, things of depth. And that's where I want my energy devoted. I don't want to harp on guilt, because the truth is, this is the moment to relish and delight in the blessings of life. So when I find myself in that mode, because we're accustomed to falling into that and we slide back into that, I need to remember what the objective is. So being very much grounded on my priority, savoring my family, prioritizing my family and other areas that I feel that are of quality that require my attention.
That's great. That and that, that's advice, ladies and gentlemen. Take that with you. Be intentional. Understand what is your value, what is your uh, hope when you go into these family events. May that help you prepare as we head into the upcoming months of holidays and festivities. Don't feel that you are running on obligation, running on fumes, right? But really sit back and think about your boundaries before you say yes or no to any of
Yeah.
the events you're invited to.
Yes.
Mario, thank you so much for your time. It is precious. Your wisdom has helped with this amazing conversation. Think definitely not think. I know I'll have you back talking more about different boundaries, different things that will help our audience think about themselves and continue to grow alongside. One of the things that I'll definitely recommend for most people, I typically give out either a book or movie. So today, I would invite you all to consider The Dance of Anger by Harriet Lerner. It's a classic on family patterns and how to break them. Maybe something that'll help you think about boundaries. Do you have anything that you can share with our audience as well? Or maybe how can the audience connect with you more?
I would just go into that idea of Bowen family therapy, family enmeshments and differentiation, and not necessarily look at it in such a critical way, but just for the sake of awareness of some of the dynamics in your life and where maybe some growth has to occur. And growth is a great word because at the end of the day, we all need that. So, Bowen family therapy, enmeshment, and differentiation. And just live by that rule of when we're upset, there's a few seconds between a response and a reaction. And we should always opt for a response because a reaction is very knee jerk, and a response allows for a few seconds where we can take that next necessary step back.
Take these words to heart, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely, if this has been helpful to you, join in on the conversation. You can find me on at Friends with Boundary on Instagram, friendswithboundary@gmail.com. And definitely drop in anything that you learn, takeaways, or questions that you may have. And we'll reach out and we'll answer. I promise at this point, I can answer every single thing that's thrown our way. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us and continue to be friends with boundaries.